Jai Bhim and Namo Buddhaya. Once again, I welcome you for this third session, which is, I hope, going to be very interesting. So far, we have covered a lot of ground in terms of our two sessions, and today we are going to go further. And will be studying very important aspect of Babasaheb Ambedkar's art of public speaking, his persuasive power, his negotiating skills, and also through this particular session we are going to learn a lot about the struggle that the community has gone through under the leadership of Babasaheb Ambedkar. Also, we are going to dwell upon the little bit of history. There are a lot of elements that we are going to cover today, and we will be going for a little bit longer session today. And if time permits, we will be listening to one of the interviews of Babasaheb Ambedkar. So that's the plan today. Let's begin with our presentation. So I titled today's presentation as How to Negotiate and Reconcile like Babasaheb Ambedkar. So in the previous two sessions, we have seen how to speak like Babasaheb Ambedkar. We've seen how he has spoken in the Constituent Assembly. And in the second, we have studied how Babasaheb Ambedkar argued with the British Empire. And he was so categorical in expressing his views, his demands very clearly. And we have also seen his first speech in the Roundtable Conference and subsequent achievements that Babasaheb Ambedkar had in terms of gaining the the power of self-governance for Indians. And today I'm going to go into quite a lot of controversial things today. And we are going to look at mainly, I was going to focus on, these all debating, arguing, and reconciling with Gandhi and Congress and Sanatanist, Hindu fundamentalist, which were there. Other minorities like Sikhs and Muslims, and other scheduled caste leaders like MC Raja, P. Balu, and other leaders who were, who had a different view other than Baba Sahib. But I thought that it will be, expanding the scope too much. So I'm going to mainly focus on debating, arguing, and reconciling with Gandhi and Congress in terms of what happened at the second session of the Roundtable Conference. So this is like a film, it's very exciting. At least, when I was collecting the material, going through it, sweating over it, I found that it's very interesting to look at this stuff because it's almost cinematic. You can learn a lot. It's also very educative at the same time very entertaining in terms of the kind of pressure that builds up in the negotiation and so on and so forth. So it's going to be a very interesting journey. So let's briefly touch upon what happened in the before we begin our the look into the core of our presentation today or our session today. So we know that by the time the second session of the roundtable conference began, we have seen the first session. Gandhi did not attend the first session. Muhammad Iqbal was not present in the first session. There were a lot of people who were not present in the first session, but in the second session, a lot of people were present, including Gandhi and Muhammad Iqbal. But before that, Babasaheb Ambedkar has made such an impact on the listeners, on the parliamentarians, on the Indians. We have seen how Sayajirao Maharaj was moved by his speech. He invited him for a special dinner. And the first session of the roundtable conference concluded, and the second was to begin. But that by the time Babasaheb Ambedkar has already emerged as a patriot of a very high, sterling high worth, and he was known as somebody who has a very incisive mind to look into the legal problem, constitutional problem, how to put his point across. So Baba Ambedkar has already emerged as a kind of a pan-India leader at the time because of his power of oratory, his power of persuasion. And we have seen how Baba Ambedkar was, actively involved in the constitutional process from 1919 onwards, and he has made a very clear statement about the cornerstone of his politics was that the untouchables were not the Hindus and they were part apart, and their political rights, their civil rights were different from the caste Hindus. So that was the cornerstone of his politics to that the untouchables were the part apart. And we know he gave evidence before the Simon Commission, submitted two memorandums to the commission independently, and he launched Mahad and Kalaram Satyagraha to show that the untouchables were not Hindus. The Hindus don't treat them like the human beings. So you see, as I was saying, he has had achieved a lot in the first round of the roundtable conference. He came out to be known as a sterling patriot with very deep love for his country. His very often cited statement comes during that, the Indian first and Indian last, and he made tremendous impression in the first session of the roundtable conference. And he was successful in lobbying for the representation of the depressed classes in the government in the first session of the RTC. It was almost clear that the untouchables or the depressed classes will get their political rights. They will get their representation. Because Babasaheb Ambedkar, warned at time that no constitution will be accepted if it has no representation from the scheduled caste. That time the word scheduled caste didn't exist. There was a word called the depressed classes. It was the official word. And he was the member of two high-powered committees. There were the two high-powered committees set up during roundtable conference. One was the Federal Structure Committee, and another was the Minorities Committee. Please keep this information in mind, because this is going to help you to navigate through a very complex material that I'm going to go through today, and we are going to learn a lot about how we can negotiate, how we can argue, how we can put our points across, how we can sharpen our language, how we can withstand the pressure, and in other words, how we can get the maximum out of the negotiation. So, keep this two, information in mind, that there were two high-powered committees, the Federal Structure Committee and the Minorities Committee, and Babasaheb Ambedkar was a member of both, and he came to be recognized as the great statesman, and his range of knowledge was appreciated by all the quarters. Now we are talking about 31. That time Babasaheb Ambedkar was in 40 years old. He was very young, and the young man of just 40 years old was making a big impression on the people at large. So bear in mind the age of Babasaheb Ambedkar and reflect upon it as to what we are doing at this age. So you see, when it was getting clear that the untouchables or the depressed classes are going to get the representation in the government at all levels, Gandhi was alerted. And Gandhi's fear was that Babasaheb Ambedkar will succeed in getting all the rights for the untouchables. And we are going to look into this as to how that has affected tremendously the process of representative democracy in India. So in the third week of July 1931, the names of the delegates to the second session of the RTC were announced. Now keep this year and date in mind for some time. And both Babasaheb Ambedkar and Gandhi were invited to attend the second session. Gandhi was reluctant to go to the roundtable conference. In the first roundtable conference, he was absent. And it was not clear whether Gandhi would attend the second session. It was not clear at all. But even before Gandhi declared that whether he would go to the roundtable conference, he invited Babasaheb Ambedkar. He wrote a letter to Babasaheb Ambedkar on 6 August 1931 when he was in Bombay in Mani Bhavan. And this is what he said. Dr. Mr. Ambedkar, I would come to see you tonight at 8 p.m. If you can spare that time, I would gladly come over to your place if it is convenient for you to come. Sincerely, M.K. Gandhi. So this is an invitation coming from Gandhi for Babasaheb Ambedkar, whether the two can meet, and Gandhi is saying that he would come to Babasaheb's home to meet him. Okay, but Babasaheb Ambedkar on the previous day had gone to Sangli and he was not well. So, he said that don't come to my house, I will come to see you. And the meeting got postponed. Babasaheb Ambedkar couldn't go during that time, but he happened to meet Gandhi in Mani Bhavan at 2 o'clock on 14th August 1935. This is one of the first meetings, that has left a kind of an indelible mark, the beginning of the battle. So you see, the scene is very clear. It's depicted in the movie if you have seen it. And, it's very interesting scene. Gandhi is always, neglecting the non-European, non-Hindu leaders. So Babasaheb Ambedkar arrives. He's not paying him attention at all. He's eating fruits. He's talking to Miss Slade. That was the situation at the time. But somehow, then he captured the attention. Gandhi looked at Babasaheb Ambedkar. So when Gandhi looked at Babasaheb Ambedkar, this is what happened between the two. So, Gandhi turned to Babasaheb Ambedkar, whom he saw for the first time, and after former question, he switched on to the main topic. Now, look at the kind of, the speaking. Now this is a live discussion between Gandhi and Babasaheb Ambedkar. So I urge you to imagine a situation where uh, you will be able to grasp more and more of this discussion between Babasaheb Ambedkar and Gandhi. So Gandhi says, "Well, doctor, what have you to say in that matter? In the matter." So now see, Babasaheb Ambedkar is very, very interesting. You see his quality. Okay. He is a man of clarity. He's a man who wants to know everything clearly. So this is what Baba Ambedkar said. He said, "You called me to hear your views. Please tell me what you have to say. Or you may have, please ask me some questions and I shall answer." So you see, this is very important in any discussion, that whenever we indulge into any dialogue, it's very important to declare, come to the terms of the dialogue as to what we want to discuss, how we want to discuss, and how that has to be dealt with. So you see, this is what happened. Then Gandhi started looking at Babasaheb Ambedkar, and he asked Babasaheb Ambedkar with a staring look at Babasaheb Ambedkar. He says, "I understand that you got some grievances against me and the Congress. I may tell you that I have been thinking over the problem of untouchables ever since my school days when you were not even born." So Gandhi is saying that, Gandhi is trying to claim, superiority over Babasaheb Ambedkar by saying that you are a bacha before me, you are a child before me. You see, this argumentative style of Gandhi, if you look at it, it's from arguing from the top. You see, it's very clear from the statement that we are reading. You may perhaps be knowing that enormous amount of efforts I had put into incorporate this problem in the program of the Congress and make it a plank of the Congress platform. That's what Congress is saying, that's what Gandhi is telling to Baba Ambedkar. The Congress leaders opposed it on the plea that it was a religious and social question, and as such, it should not be mixed with political ones. This is not all. The Congress has spent not less than rupees 20 lakhs on the uplift of the untouchables, and it's really surprising that men like you should offer opposition to me and to Congress. If you have to say anything to justify your stand, you are free to do so. Now you see, Gandhi is actually trying to negate the leadership of Baba Ambedkar in these very few paragraphs. So you see the dialogues, you see what Gandhi is trying to tell Baba Ambedkar, that, the Congress and Gandhi, they are doing enough for the untouchable. He's even denying the leadership and the efforts of Baba Ambedkar, who is the sole leader, as we are going to see, of the untouchables. And this is how Gandhi is trying to claim a position, saying that, he is doing everything for the untouchables. So you see now, this is what Baba Ambedkar says. See, now you listen, you look at every sentence very carefully. Now see, Babasaheb says, "It's true, Mahatma Ji, that you started to think about the problem of untouchables before I was born." So as always, he's giving concession to the opponent. Okay. Now he comes to a very interesting point. You see what he says. "All old and elderly persons always like to emphasize the point of age." See, this is, you see, without offending you, he's making his point. He's saying that, okay, you're right. You started thinking about the problems of untouchables before me. But, it's a very common thing. All elderly and old persons always like to emphasize the point of age. Now, this is 40 years old, Baba Ambedkar. It is also true that because of you, the Congress party gave recognition to the problem. He also acknowledges it, gives a concession, but then makes a critical point. Give concession, make a critical point. Now see the critical point. "But let me tell you frankly that Congress did nothing beyond giving formal recognition to this problem." So Azhar says, your effort is just a tokenism. You are just giving formal recognition. You are not doing anything to, end untouchability. You say the Congress spent more than rupees 20 lakhs on the uplift of the untouchables. I say it was all West. And Baba Ambedkar has proved how the fund donated in the name of Tilak in 1920 towards the fighting the cause of untouchability, how it was wasted. Now 1920 is a very important period, because 1919 Baba Ambedkar has already staked his claim on the behalf of his community. So then Congress started in action, how not to let untouchables go from the Hindu fold, quote unquote. So you see, it was all it I say it was all West. With such a backing, I could I could have effected an astonishing change in the outlook and economic conditions of my people. Now see the language. Gandhi is claiming the leadership, Baba Ambedkar is using the word my people. Okay, he said, if I had recourse to such an amount of money, I could bring the astonishing change in the outlook and economic conditions of my people. And in that event, it would have not been imperative for you to see me long before. But I tell you that the Congress is not sincere about its profession. So Ambedkar tells Gandhi that you wouldn't have to see me. Had you a Congress and you had done something for my people, you wouldn't be seeing me now because you have done next to nothing. So he's saying, but I tell you that the Congress is not sincere about its professions. Had it been sincere, it would have surely made the removal of untouchability a condition, like the wearing of khaddar for becoming a member of the Congress. That's the last point on in the Gandhi's agenda after where when he writes somewhere his things. So you see, he's saying that I tell you that the Congress is not sincere about its profession, and he says that the Congress has not made this condition that the removal of untouchability is paramount. It's important. You have made a condition that you should wear a khadi if you want to become a member of the Congress. So Babasaheb is very clear, very categorical, and we have something to learn here. Whenever we negotiate, we should be very clear. We can be, critic. We can criticize, but give the concession. Then you come back to the point. This is what Babasaheb is doing. He's saying no person who did not employ untouchable women or men in his house or rear up an untouchable student or take food at home with an untouchable student at least once in a week should have been allowed to be a member of the Congress. Had there been such a condition, you could have avoided the ridiculous sight where the president of the district Congress committee was seen opposing the temple entry of the untouchables. You see, this is what the knowledge does. This is what the information does. And you see, in one paragraph, Boss Ambedkar completely challenges Gandhi using his own terms. So whenever we talk to people, whenever we are in the public, this is very important that you listen to the people, then you respond to them without, opening their mind up, accept some of the points, but turn it in a way that, you are making your critical points. This is what Babasaheb Ambedkar is doing here. He's very intellectual, a very intelligent person. You might say that the Congress wanted strength and therefore it was unwise to lay down such a condition. Then my point is that Congress cares more for strength than for principles. You see what you say, no, Congress wanted to gain more members. That's why they didn't impose the condition of removal of untouchability should be the goal. But you see, Babasaheb Ambedkar says that you might talk about the power and you give more importance to power than principles. You see, this is Babasaheb Ambedkar. 40 years old Babasaheb Ambedkar, the way he articulates, the way he, uses the language, the way he turns the phrases, the way he, pick up the points from the opponents and argue with them, give them back on their own terms. This is my charge against you and the Congress. Now you see, now when you make your points, you can come to hit, you can hit harder. Now you cannot hit harder before you make your points. So this is Babasaheb Ambedkar is hitting hard here now. He's saying this is my charge against you and the Congress. You say the British government does not show a change of heart. I also say that the Hindus have not shown a change of heart in regard to a problem. And so long as they remain adamant, we would believe neither the Congress nor the Hindus. We believe in self-help and self-respect. See, this is very, very beautifully explained and expressed. He says that we don't want your leadership. We don't want Congress to do anything with us. What we believe in, we believe in the self-help and we believe in the self-respect. In other words, we believe in our own power to change our destiny. We don't need your sympathy. See, this is the way the argument goes. This is the way, we have to cultivate the style of argument. We are not prepared to have faith in the great leaders and Mahatmas. Let me be brutally frank about it. History tells that Mahatmas, like fleeting phantoms, raise dust but raise no level. Why should the congressmen oppose our movement and dub me as a traitor? You see, this is the crux of the matter that Babasaheb is saying. Let me be brutally frank about it. History tells that the Mahatmas, like fleeting phantoms, raise dust but raise no level. Why should the congressmen oppose our movement and dub me a traitor? And this is how Babasaheb Ambedkar become the observer of the meeting says he grew animated because he was speaking from his heart. His face flushed and eyes glowed. He paused for a moment and then continued in a bitter, indignant tone. You see, this is how when you speak from your heart, when you express your emotions, this there is a change in the tone. The tone is not usual tone. And you are Babasaheb Ambedkar saying, Gandhiji, I have no homeland. And this theme of having no homeland is recurrent in Babasaheb Ambedkar. He calls our community of people at bay. People wait. He's waiting for the visa to enter in a certain country. The visa is not given to him. So you see, I have no homeland. That's what Babasaheb Ambedkar says. Gandhi is taken back, cutting him short. You have got a homeland, and from the report that have reached me of your work at the Roundtable Conference, I know you are a patriot of sterling worth. So you see, Gandhi knows how to talk as well. You see, Gandhi is saying to Babasaheb Ambedkar, he's not an ordinary man, Gandhi, by that time. He's a big leader. He's a tall personality. He's the tallest personality in the India, in India. He's the leader of the Congress, and he can mobilize the people for the national movement. And he's saying, on the record, he's saying that I know you are a patriot of sterling worth. And this is what Babasaheb Ambedkar say. You say, I have got a homeland, but still I repeat that I am without it. How can I call this land my own homeland and this religion my own, wherein we are treated worse than cats and dogs, wherein we cannot get water to drink? You see, before that, Babasaheb Ambedkar has already started the agitation of the Mahad, to have the access to the drinking water. No self-respecting, untouchable worth the name will be proud of this land. See, we have no reason to love this land when our people are treated like cats and dogs, worse than the animals. The injustice and sufferings inflicted upon us by this land are so enormous that if knowingly or unknowingly we fall a prey to disloyalty to this country, the responsibility for that act would be solely yours, hers, the country's. I do not feel sorry for being branded as a traitor. You see, this is how you are very clear. You have to be very clear as to what you want, what is your position. And we will see in this session how Gandhi has no clear position. So you see, then the negotiations become very difficult, as I'm going to show you. On the one hand, there is a clarity, there is a precision in Babasaheb's argument. On the other hand, there is Gandhi who is using various means, to stop the untouchables from getting the special recognition, special rights. And this is what the clarity is. Babasaheb is saying that if we are branded as a traitor, we are not responsible for it. It's you, it's the country that has failed us. It is the religion that is failing us. And even it is true today. So let's look at it. For the responsibilities of our actions lie with the land that dubs me a traitor. If at all I have rendered any national service, as you say, helpful or beneficial to the patriotic cause of this country, it is due to my unsullied conscience. He says, because my conscience is very clear. That's why I'm rendering the service to this country, not due to any patriotic feelings in me. My conscience is clear. My heart is clear. If in my endeavor to secure human rights for my people who have been trampled upon in this country for ages, I do any disservice to this country, it would not be a sin. He said this is the main question, whether human rights or a country, whether dignity or just the blind love for the land. These are the questions that we have to be able to articulate. This is how Babasaheb Ambedkar articulates so clearly, so beautifully, so precisely. And he says, he says, and if any harm does not come to this country through my action, it may be due to my conscience. He says, my heart, my conscience, my mind is pure. Owing to the promptings of my conscience, I have been striving to win human rights for my people without meaning or doing any harm to this country. You see, Babasaheb Ambedkar has a very delicate balance to maintain. And this is what he is clearly bringing out on the table, that this is how I have to deal with these two. On the other hand, you claim to be a patriot. Gandhi is claiming to be a patriot, but on the other hand, he is denying the right of the self-preservation, rights, human rights to the 1/5 of the population of a country. So you see, then the atmosphere turned very green, faces changed. Gandhi was growing restless. He wanted to give a turn to Dr. Ambedkar's talk. Just then, Babasaheb Ambedkar asked him the most pertinent question, which was the object of the interview. Now, the most pertinent question comes. You see, this is the beginning of a battle. So Babasaheb says, everybody knows that the Muslims and the Sikhs are socially, politically, and economically more advanced than the untouchables. The first session of the Roundtable Conference, as we have seen, briefly about the first session of the Roundtable Conference, has given political recognition to the Muslim demand, and has recommended the political safeguards for them. The Congress has agreed to their demand. The first session has also given recognition to the political rights of the depressed classes and has recommended them for them political safeguards and adequate representation according to us that is beneficial to the depressed classes. What is your opinion? So it was clear after the first session of the roundtable conference that the depressed classes will get the political safeguards and adequate representation. That was the power of persuasion of Babasaheb Ambedkar. Even when he was very critical of the British government, in front of their faces, he could convince them that, there should be political safeguards and adequate representation for the untouchables. So he's asking, what is your opinion? Now, see, this is what Gandhi says. He says, I am against political separation of the untouchables from the Hindus. That would be absolutely suicidal. Suicidal to whom? So you see, this is the diabolic nature of so-called Mahatma. So you see, Baba Ambedkar gets up. He says, I thank you for your frank opinion. It's good that I know now where we stand as a regard to this vital problem. I take your leave. And Baba Ambedkar, without saying anything, he leaves. He's a very strong person. He doesn't care who you are. When it comes to the rights, when it comes to the truth, when it comes to the safeguarding the rights of the people, his people, even the rights of his country, he doesn't give a damn to anybody. You can be anybody. It doesn't matter. That's the another quality that we have to learn when we are dealing with the truth. We don't have to fear anybody. If now the stand he makes clear that he is opposed to the rights of the untouchables. He doesn't want to give them any, safeguards. He doesn't want to give them any political rights. So now the stage is set for the conflict. Gandhi says no to the rights even before going to the second session of the roundtable conference, because everybody knows that Baba Ambedkar has won the rights for his people. They are definitely going to get their political representation. And Baba Ambedkar on 15th August 1931, before he goes to England for the second session of the roundtable conference, he gives an interview to the Times of India. It's a long interview. I'm not going to go into that. I'm going to pick up some important point. There's a lot of material that I can cover, but I have to limit myself, to bring out the vital points that help us to know Baba Ambedkar, at the same time train ourselves in the art of this negotiation, public speaking, the way Baba Ambedkar is doing. Even if we can learn 10% of what Baba Ambedkar, has been trying to teach us, I think our community will advance manifold. So you see, to place the interest of Bardoli, there is a Bardoli Satyagraha where Gandhi was, leading it. So Vallabhbhai Patel was also there. He says, it's a very, very important sentence. To place the interest of the Bardoli above those of India and refuse on that account to go to England to take part in the deliberations of the Roundtable Conference seems to me to be the height of folly. To bother about the petty tyrannies of village officers and to be unmindful of the bigger problem, the settlement of which will enable us to exercise control on those very officers, is a thing which I cannot understand. You see, this is Babasaheb Ambedkar. This is very clear. Babasaheb. He says that you're fighting, you're giving importance to the Bardoli, forgetting the greater national problem of the future constitution of India, which will enable the Indians to have a power, and we can then, deal with these petty officers. Gandhi is concentrating on Bardoli. Bardoli. See, this is Babasaheb Ambedkar. The great nationalist, the greatest patriot the India might have seen. Mr. Gandhi refused to uphold that view and said that if he went to the roundtable conference, he would tell them that the conference might do what they liked. But in his opinion, the suggestion was absolutely suicidal so far as different classes were concerned. So you see, this is he is very opposed to the thing, the rights of the untouchables. So now let's move forward. This very interesting. This dialogue is so interesting, and what followed is very interesting. There was a huge uproar against Baba Ambedkar. Nobody can dare to challenge Gandhi. The press is with Congress and Gandhi. The capitalist Birla, he's with Gandhi. All the powers there are with Gandhi, and Baba Ambedkar is saying to him, he's saying no to him. Imagine he's saying no to Gandhi. And there is a lot of critique of Baba Ambedkar. The press was never supportive of Baba Ambedkar. The Hindu press was very critical of him. And there is an incident that I would like to read. This is very interesting. When Baba Ambedkar was, after this meeting, Baba Ambedkar was going to the to England on the steamer, and there was a person, Patani, and he didn't want to stay nearby Baba Ambedkar because he thought that Baba Ambedkar has disrespected this great Gandhi. And he had a very different tone, very biting tone, and he says that according to Hindu scripture, a very interesting story. A gentleman should quit the place where a detractor reviled a good man. So Baba Ambedkar is a detractor, for the caste Hindu, and Gandhi is a good man. Okay. So if the hearer could not cut out the tongue of the detractor on the spot, so because Baba Ambedkar left the meeting with Gandhi, and Gandhi has shown his real thanks to him. This man, the caste Hindu, the Sanatani, he's saying that it's not good to stay with a person detractor who has done this to the good man Gandhi. Then Babasaheb Ambedkar is very talented. He says Babasaheb Ambedkar heard that was all the more tickled by the growing insensible temper of the person, Pattani, and without any sign of irritation. That's all the beauty of Babasaheb Ambedkar. He's a very cool-minded, cool-headed person. He was very intelligent, very witful, and at times very humorous. So you can see here humor on the sheep. You know, he says, without any sign of irritation on his face, asked him what punishment was prescribed by Pattani's Hindu scripture for a rank hypocrite and an abject flatterer. So he said, if somebody is a rank hypocrite like him and a rank flatterer, what punishment should be? So there was a little scuffle between this so-called knight and Babasaheb Ambedkar. The police has to intervene on the boat. So you see, there was a lot of opposition to Babasaheb Ambedkar from the Congress, from the Sanatani Hindus, from his own people coming from with their own agendas. So let's look at the second session of the RTC. So second session started on the 7th September 1931. Baba Ambedkar left immediately, and then Gandhi arrived in London. He had some compromise with the British. So Gandhi arrived with Sarojini Naidu, Malviya, Madan Mohan Malviya, and other people. He came to the England, and Baba Ambedkar was already there, but he was not well. He has worked so hard. He was not well at all. He has diarrhea. He was bedridden for a few days when he arrived in London. But he immediately started working. He and Rao Bahadur Srinivas, both great men, they started work. They worked like we cannot imagine the kind of work they did. So Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar was the member of the Federal Structure Committee, which was committed to decide the future politics of a country as to how the 563 princely states can be brought together in the federal structure. So Gandhi made his first speech on 15 September 1931 in the Federal Structure Committee and claimed that he represents all Indian, including Muslims and untouchables. This was Gandhi. He said that because Congress has the Muslim president, he represents Muslims. Because the Congress had women presidents like Annie Besant and Sarojini Naidu, therefore it represents all the women in the country. Then because it represents, it has other people. He started saying that he represents also the untouchables. He said, I am the sole leader of the people of India. That was Gandhi's claim. But there were so many political parties in India. There were so many political groups in India. But Gandhi claiming that I am the leader of everybody. He says it's on the paper. So Gandhi in his speech supported the princes and the princely state. That's the point you have to bear in mind. So it will show how nationalist Gandhi was. You see, the princely states used to rule the people in their princely states. And Gandhi supported the right of the princess, not the people in the princely state. It was Babasaheb Ambedkar. In the same day, he made a speech in the structure committee, Federal Structure Committee, and he defended the rights of the citizens of the princely states. And Babasaheb's views were considered to be radical and revolutionary because he opposed all the princes. He said, no power to the princes. Let the power go to the citizens. And after that, the whole discussion turned, for or against what Babasaheb Ambedkar said. That was the power of his speech. Gandhi next day supported the princely states openly. And Gandhi declared war against Babasaheb Ambedkar and his people when it was not necessary to talk about that in this committee. It was a committee to decide the political future of the country. There was another committee, the minority committee, which was meant to talk about the representation for the various committees. You see, Gandhi is only concerned about this. His whole goal to attend the RTC is, around how he can limit the depressed classes. There's no point that he has to say. But he is making this point in the Federal Committee. The Congress has reconciled itself to a special treatment of the Hindu-Muslim Sikh angle. These are sound historical reasons. There are sound historical reasons for it, but the Congress will not extend that doctrine in any shape or form. I listened to the list of special interests. So far as the untouchables are concerned, I have not yet quite grasped what Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar has to say. But of course, the Congress will share the onus with Dr. Ambedkar of representing the interest of the untouchables. The interest of the untouchables are as dear to the Congress as the interest of any other body or of any other individuals throughout the length and breadth of India. Therefore, I would most strongly resist any further representation. You see, this is Gandhi. Sole agenda is to oppose the rights of the untouchables. Sole agenda. It's very clear from the speeches he made where it is not needed. In this committee, it was not needed, but he is bringing this point. He's so anxious. He's so taken by, Babasaheb. He cannot say no to him because he knows that he cannot match his intellectual prowess, his commitment to the country, his patriotic zeal. So what he is trying to do is, he's claiming his claim over the untouchables through this kind of means. And Babasaheb Ambedkar replied that later on that this was nothing but a declaration of war by Gandhi and by the Congress against untouchable. With this declaration by Mr. Gandhi, he added, I knew that Mr. Gandhi would do in the minorities committee, which was the main forum for the discussion of this question. Babasaheb Ambedkar already knew that Gandhi would oppose the rights to the untouchables, but he has to do that in the minority committee. But Gandhi was so anxious that he did it in the federal committee. So this is what Babasaheb Ambedkar has now. We will be looking at how Babasaheb Ambedkar's oratory is, shaping up. So you see, Madan Mohan Malviya pleaded for the patience. He says that the princess, should have, utilized all resources and spent sufficient money on promoting primary education among the people. He was sure the words depressed classes would have been a matter of history. So he's saying that, if we had put some efforts in educating the untouchables, the word depressed classes would have gone. So Babasaheb Ambedkar says at once, and he looks at himself, he cites his own case. He said that in spite of his education, he was still an untouchable. So Babasaheb Ambedkar, as we know, was a highly educated person, perhaps one of the most highly educated person in that assembly in India, but he was treated as the untouchables, as we know from his life history. So in the course of his speech, Sir Akbar Haidari, another high caste Muslim, while replying to Dr. Ambedkar, said, speeches like those of Dr. Ambedkar, if I may say so, do not sufficiently appreciate the realities of the situation. So this is the criticism of Akbar Haidari. And see how Babasaheb Ambedkar answers back. He says, I have never been guilty of not appreciating realities. Babasaheb Ambedkar's feet were firmly on the ground. He was so grounded in the reality that, he says, I have never been guilty of not appreciating realities. And while discussing the formation of the federal constitution, nobody referred to the time limit for the initiation of federation. Federation means, bring all the princely states, all the British provinces together and make an united India. That is the plea that Babasaheb Ambedkar is always making. United India, democratic India, and adult franchise. That is the plank of Babasaheb Ambedkar. 30s. These all talls of freedom struggle and all, they are whitewash. If you look at the real history of this country, you will see how dynamic it is. So Babasaheb Ambedkar lifted the well by saying, I do not know that there would be any British Indian who would like to put the establishment of responsible government in cold storage until the princes make up their minds to enter into the federal government of India. So he's saying that we cannot let the princes decide the fate of the country. The country is higher than the princely state. That's what Babasaheb Ambedkar is saying all the time. So then, there in the third week of September 1931, the minority committee was to commence its work on September 28th. So, the federal structural committee's meeting was over. There was to be a meeting of the minority commission, two important committees to determine, the question of a political representation. On the eve of this session, Gandhi's son Devdas Gandhi saw Dr. Ambedkar at his residence, and an interview was fixed between Gandhi and Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar at the residence of Sarojini Naidu between 9 to 12 p.m. Accordingly, Babasaheb Ambedkar saw Gandhi and placed his cards on the table. But Gandhi did not open his mind and said that he would consent to Dr. Ambedkar's demand if others agreed. Now, you see, what you want has to be very clearly said. Now, to the opponent like Gandhi, he was raised to the level of Mahatma. He was sent to the Hindus. So, Babasaheb Ambedkar has placed his cards on the table. He said that these are my clear demands. This is what I want for my community. These are the rights that we are striving for. This is what, the memorandum that we are submitting to the government. Gandhi did not open his mind. You see, this is how, how you negotiate with somebody who is not clear, who is fuzzy, who is crafty, who is double dealing all the time. You're posed against an opponent who is double dealing all the time, who is, using different means to, divert the problem. And, you're very clear. Babasaheb is very absolutely clear as to what he wants. He places his cards on the table very clearly. If you are playing a game with him, he's not playing in blind. To use the smile from playing the cards, he's making everything clear. He's not, in other words, gambling. So minority committee met for the first time on the September 20th, 1931. The premier admitted that the problem of minorities in India is very difficult, baffled all, and Gandhi then I wanted to buy some time. He said that we will negotiate. So Gandhi wanted to, adjourn the minority committee meeting, which was adjourned, and Gandhi, started negotiating with the Sikhs, with the Muslims, and so on and so forth. And Gandhi was having a secret talk with Muslim leaders. He said, at one point of time, he said that to the Muslims, I will accept all your 14 points, but don't support the untouchables. Don't support the untouchables. In one of the meetings with Parallel, Parallel recorded it. He said that this, Harijan hooligans, what will they do in the parliament? So you see, he compared the wisdom of the, scheduled caste or untouchables with the wisdom of a cow. So he's a very diabolic person. He's a very crafty man, and he's double dealing. He's talking to the Muslims, telling them that, and Babasaheb Ambedkar is aware of what is going on, the secret talks between Muslim leaders and Gandhi. And so, referring to the motion of adjournment, Babasaheb Ambedkar was totally opposed to the adjournment. He said that let's decide together. Why do you want to deal with different people, different ways? Let's have a democratic platform. As far as the depressed classes are concerned, we have already presented our case to the minorities subcommittee last time. The only thing which remains for me to do is to put before this committee a short statement suggesting the quantum representation which we want in the different legislature. So this is what Babasaheb Ambedkar's stand was. Then Babasaheb Ambedkar was clear, transparent, and master of speaker. So Babasaheb Ambedkar had, made a speech, and he said, Babasaheb Ambedkar said, but I would like to make this matter absolutely plain at the start. Those who are negotiating ought to understand that they are not plenipotentiaries at all. He's saying that you are not omnipotent. You don't have all the power. And whatever may be the representative character of Mr. Gandhi or of the Congress people, they certainly are not in a position to bind us. Certainly not. I say that most emphatically in this meeting. He says that whatever they decide, I don't care. Their decisions are not binding on us. So this is a negotiating skill. You see, he's saying that whatever you do, we don't accept. We know what we want. We know how we are going to safeguard our rights. And in the conclusion of the speech, he says, in the minority committee, I want to say most emphatically that whoever claims weightage and whoever is willing to give that weightage, he must not give it. He cannot give it out of my share. He says that we are asked for a certain share in the power for my people. You do whatever weightage system, you do, whatever negotiation between you. I want to tell you that I cannot give the share out of my share. This is, negotiation at its height. We can only appreciate it if we know what Babasaheb Ambedkar is doing here. His great mind. And you see, Babasaheb Ambedkar's oratory is so powerful. I said to you in the first session that Babasaheb said that I'm not a great orator, because that is an oratory tool to tell people, to make them feel that they can be like him. So, but here is a remark by McDonald, the Prime Minister of England that time. He says, Dr. Ambedkar's position has been made absolutely clear in his usual splendid way. So people in the assembly knows that whenever Babasaheb Ambedkar rises to the occasion, he talks clearly, he talks precisely, he talks very transparently, and the Prime Minister of the England says, Dr. Ambedkar's position has been made absolutely clear in his usual splendid way. He has left no doubt at all about it. So you see, there was then dilly-dallying, double-dealing by Gandhi. Gandhi is not accepting the leadership of Babasaheb Ambedkar. He says that the representation of the RTC, representative of the RTCs were selected by the government of, England. The British government, they were not selected by the people of India. He is now playing different tactics. Then why the heck you came to the roundtable council? That's the question, isn't it? So you see, this is what is important. That the Gandhi has these very many techniques. He's also a seasoned politician. He knows what he's doing. He's very clear that he has to argue with very astute mind like Babasaheb Ambedkar. So you see, the Congress denied all the rights. But Babasaheb Ambedkar said that we cannot deny the allegation that we are nominees of government. This is Babasaheb Ambedkar's statement. But speaking for myself, I have not the slightest doubt that even if depressed classes of India were given the chance of electing their representatives to this conference, I would all the same find a place here. I say therefore that whether I am a nominee or not, I fully represent the claims of my community. Let no man be under any mistaken impression as regards that. Baba Ambedkar says that I represent my people. And then we know that many telegrams were sent from all over India. And Baba Ambedkar has proved his leadership. Gandhi also received some telegrams, but very few. And Baba Ambedkar received all over the places from UP, from Colombo, from Chennai, from Maharashtra, you name it. And Baba Ambedkar received telegrams claiming that he is our sole leader. He is our only leader. Only he is authorized to deal on our behalf. So this is another statement by Babasaheb Ambedkar. He says that depressed classes were not anxious about the transfer of power under the present circumstances. But if the government wanted to transfer power, it should be accompanied by such conditions and by such provisions that the power should not find itself into the hands of a clique, in the hands of the few people. That is what happened. Into the hands of the oligarchy, the rich people, into the hands of a group of people, whether Mohammedans or Hindus. The solution should be such that the power should be shared by all communities in their respective proportion. So Babasaheb Ambedkar is asking for the proportionate power. Then Babasaheb Ambedkar exposes Gandhi's duplicity. He says that Gandhi has got the mental setup which is undemocratic. He's playing one community against another. It's totally unbecoming of the Mahatma. He's not playing the part of a friend of the depressed classes, but not even playing the part of an honest foe. Honest foe is better than a duplicate, the foe with a duplicity. In the deadlock over communal representation, Gandhi signed pledge with government that he will accept the decision of the government. So there was a deadlock, communal deadlock, and all the people agreed that whatever the British government will decide, we will agree to that. And there was a pledge signed by everybody, Gandhi signed, that if the premier or the British government decides on something, we will agree to that. Babasaheb Ambedkar did not sign the pledge. This is very interesting. He says that I know what I want. He didn't sign the pledge. So the second session of the RTC was finished, and the communal there was a communal deadlock. The communal deadlock was to be resolved by the British, and Baba Ambedkar saw that now we have to mobilize the people. So why I'm bringing these aspects? Because this is also training for us as to how we should conduct our movement, how we should walk in the footsteps of Baba Ambedkar. So there was a franchise committee which was later known as the Lothian Committee for giving the rights to vote for the Indians. And Baba Ambedkar said that all the scheduled caste organizations must submit this memorandum to the Lothian Commission. And this is he himself prepared and circulated across the India. In the blank place, you have to write the name of the organization, and all the demands will be same. You see, that is Baba Ambedkar. He is well prepared. He knows what to do. He knows how to do. He knows why to do it, and how to get it done. So a negotiator is, if we look at Baba Ambedkar, we know a lot of dimensions of Baba Ambedkar, but we don't know what he was, how he worked. When we begin to know his personality, the way, his skills, his commitment, we begin to, learn a lot from him. So, you see, this was the memorandum that was to be circulated. In every territorial constituency, the separate classes are in minority of the population and will be a minority of voters in the electorate, much too small to win a seat for themselves. Owing to social prejudices, no voter of the higher caste Hindus will vote for the depressed classes candidates. On the other hand, owing to economic dependence on the higher caste and the religious and social influence of the higher caste, voters may be led to vote for a high caste candidate as against a candidate of his own class. No depressed class man has ever been elected to the council on the support of the high caste. You see, this is also true today. Whatever Babasaheb Ambedkar said that time, it's true even today. The higher caste Hindus, they won't vote for the untouchable candidate, the scheduled caste candidate. For a longer time, our people were forced to vote for a particular candidate. So Babasaheb Ambedkar had argued for the separate electorate and a double vote. And before the award was given, Babasaheb Ambedkar went to England again. He talked to a lot of politicians. He sent a letter to McDonald, and finally when the McDonald Award came in 1932, it was a victory of the depressed classes. We got whatever we want. We got separate electorate and double vote. Now let me explain separate electorate. The scheduled caste will vote for only the scheduled caste candidate. They will be represented in the parliament. The whole constituency, like for the Muslims and the Sikhs, it was for them, and it was also given to the scheduled caste that they had the power to win, elect their own people. And double vote, that means they can vote for the election for the scheduled caste candidate, and also they could vote for the general constituency. So one out of the 10 vote was of the scheduled caste that time. So they could be powerful in the general electorate also. Babasaheb says this was the power which would have changed the lives of the scheduled caste or the depressed classes, and the British agreed to that. And Gandhi, by his moral duty, was bound by that, but Gandhi opposed it. So he said that he will see. Babasaheb says self-immolation of Gandhi, fast unto death. So Babasaheb Ambedkar issued the following statement on 11 September 1932. Babasaheb Ambedkar reiterates his conviction that separate electorate are in the interest of the depressed classes, repeats that Mahatma Gandhi must first put forward his proposal to enable doctor, then to play his own cards. So Gandhi has not opened his card yet. Boss Ambedkar has all the his all the cards are working, and he says, I do not care these political stunts. This threat of Mr. Gandhi to starve himself to death is not a moral fight but a political move. I can understand a person trying to negotiate with his political opponent on equal terms by giving him credit for honesty, but I will never be moved by this method. You see, in the negotiation, if the person is dishonest, if the opponent is dishonest, how you deal with it? So Babasaheb Ambedkar is not only dealing with the hostile crowd of the caste Hindus or the press, he's dealing with somebody who is not clear. You see, he's threatening by force. He's arguing by force. He's not arguing by the words. He's not arguing by the logic. He's arguing by the force. If you don't agree to my demand, I will kill myself. It's a violence. When you put a knife on your own neck and saying that if you do not agree with me, I'm going to kill myself. It's a violence beyond violence. He says the greatest violence. So my decision stands, and if Mr. Gandhi wants to fight with his life for the interest of the high caste community, Hindu community, the depressed classes, we also will be forced to fight with their to safeguard their interests. If he want to fight with life, we will also fight with our life. So Gandhi is yet to begin his fast. Gandhi says on 15 September, before he announced his fast, he actually start fasting on 20th September. 5 days after this statement, he says, my fast has a narrow application. The depressed classes question being predominantly a religious matter. I regard it as specially my own by reason of lifelong concentration on it. It is a sacred personal trust which I may not shirk. You see what kind of an argument is this? So this is what happens. Babasaheb Ambedkar replies on 18 September. He says there were a lot of public meetings of the Hindus, emergency meeting, because Gandhi is now going to undertake a path, fast against his own countrymen, and proposes to hold and resolution to be moved, but a provocative challenge to me and to my party. Babasaheb says, those who have been carrying on negotiations with me cannot carry on their propaganda against me. So if you want to negotiate with him, you cannot at the same time carry on the propaganda against him. That is what the Congress and Gandhi was doing. Huge propaganda against Babasaheb Ambedkar, calling him traitor. And but the objective reality is different. He's more patriot than these guys. But there is a propaganda which goes on even today. And he says against me, and at the same time hope for an amicable settlement as the result of the negotiation. It must be either negotiations or straight fight. Both cannot go together. If the other party insists on the right to carry on propaganda, they will have no right to blame me if my party also decide to carry on propaganda against them. So he said, if you want to negotiate, negotiate. Don't do double dealing. Don't do anything that is against negotiation. You want to have a negotiation or straight fight. He's asking for that. At one point, Babasaheb Ambedkar says in the future, he said that had he known that there was a great strength behind him, he would never sign the Poona Pact. So now let's go to that. So the conference of Hindus was to take place in Bombay. Madan Mohan Malviya, Raja Gopalachari, all these high caste Hindus, they had arranged a conference of Hindu leaders to solve the deadlock. And Gandhi said that whatever they will do, I will accept. And Babasaheb Ambedkar's statement of 19 September, after this announcement of the Hindu conference, that economically it is a class entirely dependent upon the high caste Hindus for earning its daily bread with no independent way of living open to it. Not only every path of progress is closed to them by reason of the social prejudices of the Hindus, but there is a definite attempt all throughout the Hindu society to bolt every possible door so as not to allow the depressed classes any opportunity to rise in the scale of life. Indeed, it would not be exaggeration to say that in every village, the caste Hindus, however divided among themselves, are always in standing conspiracy to put down in a merciless manner any attempt on the part of depressed classes who form a small and scattered body of an ordinary Indian citizens. So he's seeing the danger. He's seeing that even if the Hindus are divided by caste, they unite against the untouchables. So it's a comprehensive statement that we can understand. 19th September, before Gandhi undertook a fast. So you see, I can go on. I can go on for a long. There is a lot, and Babasaheb Ambedkar is asking for the proposal because he is now seeing that the ground are set for the negotiation, and he says that he asked Gandhi to postpone his fast by 10 days. You see, he is very compassionate man. Babasaheb Ambedkar is very peaceful, very compassionate, very strong as well, very clear, very intellectual. He knows what he is doing at that particular point of time. He knows how to negotiate. He knows how to argue. He's saying that let this conference have come to the conclusion. Let Gandhi you know postman his fault, fast and to death. He's also saying that I don't want to negotiate with Hindus. I want to straightaway negotiate with Gandhi. This is what Babasaheb Ambedkar is saying. He says, this conference is nothing. This is just a facade. There is the actor behind it. That's Gandhi. I want to only deal with Gandhi. And he says, I shall consider the opinion only of Mahatma Gandhi. So, you see, he's identifying the clear stakeholder. He knows, he has clarity, who has to be negotiated with. But Gandhi started fast on to death on 20 September. And then the proposal comes for, this is what Gandhi's proposal on the eve of his fast 20th. See how in the 4 days everything changes. That is the power of negotiation. So Mahatma Gandhi opposed to the decision of awarding separate electorate for the untouchables. He is not fully agreeable to the joint electorate as well as for the reserve seats. However, he would not object if the all Hindu conference at Mumbai would take a specific decision for the reserve seats. But it would not mean that he necessarily agrees with it. If at all any pact is agreed upon, he may probably give his consent. That was his stand. You see, this is Gandhian way of dealing the things. He's playing all the strings, but he's saying that they will decide. Babasaheb Ambedkar response is very clear. He addresses the conference of the Hindus and he says, today in the negotiations in this difficult situation, I am in more strange position than all others. Unfortunately, in these peaceful negotiations, I appear to be acting as villain for the protection of just demand of my people. I am willing to suffer to any extent in order to get fulfilled the just demands of my people. This is a very famous statement by Babasaheb Ambedkar. I tell you, I shall not deter from my pious duty and betray the just and legitimate interest of my people, even if you hang me on the nearest lamppost in the street. The question faced today is not to be solved by succumbing to emotions, but by constitutional means, as it involves the countless brethren who have been suffering in the slavery for ages. Adherence only to conscience will not be of any help here. Looking at the nature of proposal of Mahatma Gandhi, it will take some more time for me to think. However, this conference through resolution should convey Mahatma Gandhi to postpone his fast for 10 to 12 days. See, Babasaheb Ambedkar, this is very characteristic Babasaheb Ambedkar. If the Indians comes to know who Babasaheb Ambedkar, what he did for the country, so there is a conspiracy to brand Babasaheb Ambedkar as just the leader of the scheduled caste. It's not so. Early on, he has a bigger goal. So Babasaheb Ambedkar's, respond to the Gandhian proposal. He says that even if no separate electorate, but there should be a joint electorate with the reserve seats, more seats for the depressed classes, and we see how Babasaheb Ambedkar won more seats for the depressed classes. He talks about the referendum after 10 years by the depressed classes. And he says that the right of vote should be given to all the scheduled caste, depressed classes. And he's asking for representation at all levels, municipality, local bodies, taluka, all levels. He's also asking for the representation in the public services, like at the state level, and at the central level. He's asking for the educational grants for the scheduled caste, which were duly given. And he's asking for the rights in the lines of Section 93 of the Constitution of Canada. And you see, this is in the negotiation, your proposal should be very clear. This is what Babasaheb Ambedkar gives as a proposal. It is accepted, but there is a meeting with Gandhi in Yerwada jail on 23rd and 23, 2 days. These meetings are very important. Gandhi is fragile after 2 days of fast. He started his fast on 20th, 23rd, 22nd. Babasaheb Ambedkar meets him. He's very fragile. He's lying on the cot. All the atmosphere is strange there. But Babasaheb Ambedkar goes and talks to him. He says, Mahatma ji, you have been very unfair to us. See, Babasaheb Ambedkar's, he's very, very shrill tone. He tells Gandhi, you are very unfair to us. And he says, it's always my lot to appear to be unfair, replied Gandhi. I cannot help it. The intro was very short. Boss Ambedkar did most of the talking while Gandhi lay weak and still in his bed. I want my compensation, Babasaheb says. Babasaheb asked repeatedly, I want my compensation. I am with you in most of the things you say, assured Gandhi, but you say you are interested in my life. Babasaheb says, characteristic way of negotiation, he says, yes, Mahatmaji, I am, and if you devote yourself entirely to the welfare of the depressed classes, you would then become our hero. He says, don't do this double digging. If you want to really do the work, do sincerely. And then another meeting took place between Babasaheb and Gandhi on 23rd September 1932. Then Gandhi is insisting on the referendum. He says he's asking that in 5 years' time he will change the heart of the caste Hindus. See, this is how diabolic Gandhi says that, give me 5 years. I will, change the heart of the caste. It never happened. And you see, this is what the last speech of Babasaheb in the for the Hindus. I don't know whether I should read it. I want to take your call here. There's a very interesting speech. I want to take your call whether you want me to, read this speech because this is, but it will clear a lot of ground for us. So I would like to know from you. No, I don't. I have to see the time now. It's 11 o'clock. This speech will take 20 minutes. Then I want another 20 minutes. Are you prepared to go for another 30 minutes?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Carry on.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay, okay. Because this is very interesting. It's so interesting that there is a lot to learn of history. Okay, so let's do it. Let's do it.
Go ahead, sir.
So you see, this is Babasaheb's speech before the Hindus when the negotiation has reached to the ultimate compromise, a pact, which came to be known as Poona Pact. And Babasaheb Ambedkar was so critical of the Poona Pact even after. But he has to negotiate. He has got more seats. I'm going to tell you that he has got much more in terms of the seats for the scheduled caste, for the depressed classes. But the real power was gone. The power to elect our own representative was gone, and the double vote was gone. And we got the reserve seats like today. So, the candidates that are elected today, they don't represent the interest of the scheduled caste. They represent the interest of the political parties that they come from. And that is one of the greatest of the tragedy of this country, result of the Poona Pact. See, more seats were won. Also, we got a lot of, we got reservation in the services at the central and the state level, which was duly incorporated after the third roundtable conference in the Government of India Act, the mini constitution, which came into being in 1935. But we lost the real power. We got power, but it was a token power. We lost the real power. And that's what because of that's what has happened. So let me read this speech which Babasaheb Ambedkar delivered, and you see the great oratory here. You note down. I'm going to read it slowly, then I'm going to gloss over. I believe it is no exaggeration for me to say that no man a few days ago was placed in a greater dilemma than I was. There was placed before me a difficult situation in which I had to make a choice between two difficult alternatives. There was the life of the greatest man in India to be saved. He's telling the conference that Gandhi is the greatest man in India. We have to save his life. He saved his life. And there was also for me the problem to try and safeguard the interest of my community, which I was in my humble way trying to do at roundtable conference according to my light. I am happy to be able to say that it has become possible through the cooperation of all of us to find a solution so as to save the life of Mahatma and at the same time consistent with such protection as is necessary for the interest of the depressed classes in the future. So he's saying that we could maintain some balance between saving the life of the Mahatma and also to safeguard the interest of the depressed classes. I think in all these negotiations, a large part of the credit must be attributed to Mahatma Gandhi himself. He's not shy of giving credit. This is the beauty of him. I must confess that I was immensely surprised when I met him that there was so much in common between him and me. In fact, any disputes whenever they were carried to him, and Sir Tej Bahadur Sapru has told you that the disputes that were carried to him were of a very crucial character. I was astonished to see that the man who held such divergent views from mine at the roundtable conference came immediately to my rescue and not to the rescue of the other side. I am very grateful to Mahatma for having extricated me from what might have been a very difficult situation. There is a one study which says that how Babasaheb Ambedkar even transformed Mahatma Gandhi. He is such a persuasive man that Babasaheb Ambedkar also could change Gandhi. His views on untouchability, his views on caste, his views on nation. Because you see, Babasaheb Ambedkar not only talked about the federal government, not only about the proportionate representation, he talks about even the federal courts in the second roundtable conference. His speech, all the people took notes when he talked. He talks about how the courts should be done, how the courts should be structured in India. He talks about the finances of India. He was a master of the many field. So, he was already known that he has such an astute power. One of his great power was to transform the people. He has transformed, according to one scholar, the mind of Babasaheb Ambedkar, Gandhi as well. So, by giving the concession, but Gandhi was very shrewd. We will see how, if you read history, we know, he constantly opposed the rights of the scheduled caste, constantly. So, Babasaheb Ambedkar says, I'm very grateful to Mahatma for having extricated me from what have been a very difficult situation. My only regret is why did not Mahatma take this attitude at the roundtable conference? If he had shown the same consideration to my point of view, it would not have been necessary for him to go through this ordeal. However, these are things of past. I am glad that I am here now to support this resolution. See, this is how you speak. This is how you reconcile. This is how you negotiate. Since the question has been raised in the newspaper as to whether this agreement will have the support of the whole depressed classes community, I should like to make it clear that so far as I am concerned and so far as the party which stands with me is concerned, and I'm sure I am also speaking for the other friends who are present here, that we will stand by the agreement. Let there be no doubt about this. Our only concern is this, whether the Hindu community will abide by it. The voices from the Hindu community, oh yes, we will. We feel that the Hindu community, unfortunately, is not an integral whole, but if I may say so, a federation of small communities. I hope and trust that the Hindus on their side will look upon this document as sacrosanct and work in an honorable spirit. There is just one thing I would like to say. I am very much obliged to all friends who took part in the negotiation, but I should like particularly to mention Sir Tej Bahadur Sapru and MC Rajgopalachari. Without Sir Tej Bahadur, probably it would have been difficult to carry through many of the points. I must confess that as the result of my experience of him for the last 2 years at the Roundtable Conference, that if there is any man in India who is above all communal prejudice, it is Sir Tej Bahadur. You see, in giving him credit, he's telling other people that you are not above the communal prejudice. His sense of fairness and justice is always a relief to all the minorities who hanker for securing some safeguards in the new constitution. I also mentioned my friend. You see the way parliamentary language Babasaheb Ambedkar uses. Look at the politician today. They only use a lot abusive language. Look at Babasaheb Ambedkar. He's saying my friend Raj Gopalachari. He came to our rescue when we were almost at a breaking point, and had it not been for his ingenuity, probably the agreement would not have come into being. I must also thank Pandit Malaviya, Madan Mohan Malaviya, for the courtesy and forbearance that he showed in the hot exchange of words and acrimonious debates that went on during all these negotiations. The change that has been brought about in the communal award has been brought about by the insistence of the view that the separate electorate are injurious to the national interest. See, Babasaheb Ambedkar talks very clearly. He also puts his point. He's saying that separate electorate we wanted. You didn't give us separate electorate. They are not injurious to the national cause. He says, I must confess that I remained unconvinced by that argument. I can quite understand that for a majority representation, separate electorate are harmful, but I still remain unconvinced that for the minority representation, separate electorate are an evil. I do not believe that joint electorate are going to be the final solution for the problem of absorbing the depressed classes in the Hindu community. He says joint electorate, the cycle of participation of one day is not going to bring the changes in the hearts of the Hindus. Any electorate arrangement, I believe, cannot be a solution of the larger social problem. It requires more than any political arrangement. And I hope that it would be possible for you to go beyond this political arrangement that we are making today and devise ways and means whereby it would be possible for depressed classes not only to be the part and parcel of the Hindu community, but also to occupy an honorable position, a position of equality and of status in the community. This is 1932 speech. After 1932, everything changed. After 1935, a lot of things changed. So long as the depressed classes and ignorant lot, not imbued with sense of self-respect, it was possible for them to accept the social status that was given to them by Hindu law. But as they get education, they will begin to smart under this, social laws, and there is a great danger of their ceding away from the Hindu society. I beg of you to bear that in mind, and I hope that you will do the needful in the matter. So he's telling Hindus. And then he was disillusioned by Gandhi, by Congress, and we know that in 1935 he declared in Eula that he will not die Hindu because he has seen enough of the Hindus. He has seen all their maneuvering. He has seen all their political machineries, machination. And this is what Babasaheb Ambedkar is telling them. And the annihilation of caste speech comes in 1935. He's speaking very responsibly. Whenever Babasaheb Ambedkar speaks, he speaks very responsibly. So you should know this history. You should know the power of speech of Babasaheb Ambedkar. Now let's see what we can learn from this. So this is the lessons we can draw from this till 1932. How Babasaheb Ambedkar, put his power of speech, argumentation, of his negotiations, of his what is called the reconciliation. He says, very importantly that, if Gandhi wants to die, I am also ready to die for my people. Then he says, there is a tug of war. He knows when to release the tension, when to hold on, tighten it. He's the master of that. So, how do you negotiate? Have a clear proposal and outcome in your mind. So you should know what you want. You should be ready with your proposal. You try to understand the mind of the opponent. It was very difficult to read the mind of Gandhi. As I told you that he had a closed mind, never displays his cards. Negotiate with cool, compassionate, and clear mind. This is a learning lesson for us. Create alternatives. So whatever alternatives we lead, don't stick to just one alternative. Have several alternatives. Have this, list down their pros and cons. Remain undeterred by the threats to your life, like Babasaheb Ambedkar. Never be worried that I will be killed. There were the letters during this period to Babasaheb Ambedkar that they will kill you. There was a Gokte club, the caste Hindus group that has killed the British officer. There was a rumor that in Pune they will assassinate Babasaheb Ambedkar, and Babasaheb Ambedkar laughed. He didn't care for his life. So, remain undeterred by the threats to your life. Engage with opponents with clear proposal to them. Use the speech to appeal to the minds of the people. Remove emotions from the objective negotiations. So whenever you negotiate, bring objectivity to it. Don't play on the emotions. Diffuse the hostility. You see Babasaheb Ambedkar language. He gives the concession, then he puts across his point. He says that even if I agree to this, your thing, but I think this is wrong. Diffuse the hostility and act in a peaceful, rational, and non-violent ways. Do not succumb to coercions. You see, Gandhi was putting a knife on his neck for opposing the rights of the scheduled caste. Babasaheb Ambedkar has to negotiate. He could have hold on for a long, but he was not sure whether he thought that our people will get killed if something happens to Gandhi. That was what the picture was created. Educate the people during the negotiation. Babasaheb Ambedkar always educated through his speeches, through his memorandum. He always educated his opponent. He also educated Gandhi. And the last but not the least, mobilize the masses and trust the people. So Babasaheb Ambedkar had the mobilized masses. His movement by that time was very strong in Maharashtra. He didn't know that it was strong in UP. In Tamil Nadu, had it known that there is such a movement behind him, he would have never signed on the Poona Pact. So I'm going to talk about how to mobilize the masses as Babasaheb Ambedkar did in the next session. But before we conclude today, there is a small episode after this. What happened in India? Babasaheb Ambedkar was going for the third roundtable conference, and he left for India on the 7th November 1932. And on the board of the ship, there were many important passengers talked about the Poona Pact and about Gandhi's fast. That rocked Indian word, the fast has impressed him tremendously. One of the European passengers, pointing to Dr. Ambedkar, said to his friend, "This is the young man who is writing new pages of Indian history." So Ambedkar was indeed writing the new pages of Indian history. Let's hear the master for a few moments. Okay? We have a lot of time. I thought, so let's hear the master. It's very important, Babasaheb Ambedkar reflection after, 25 years. Where is it? Safari. What? What's that? Okay, let me open it first. Okay. Open it first, then do this. Okay, wait. Okay, we go. Okay, good. So just give me 1 minute. Huh? So Babasaheb gave this interview in 1955. There is a small video also available where Babasaheb Ambedkar talks about democracy. But this is a audio recording, and let's listen to it for a while. Okay, very interesting.
First, say in 1929, through the intervention of a friend of mine, common friend, who asked Mr. Gandhi to see me. You see, and so Mr. Gandhi wrote to me saying that he would like to see me. So I went and saw him. That was just before going to the roundtable conference. And then he came to the second roundtable conference, didn't come for the first. And he was there for about 5-6 months. And there, of course, I met him also and faced him also. You see. Then, once thereafter, he also, after the signing of the Poona Pact, you see, asked me to come and see him. So I went to see him. He was then in jail. You see. But that's all the time that I have met him. But I always say that as I met Mr. Gandhi in the capacity of an opponent, I have a feeling that I know him better than most other people because he had opened his real fangs to me, you see, and I could see the inside of the man. You see, while others who generally went there as devotees, you see, saw nothing of him except the external appearance which he had put up as a Mahatma, you see. But I saw him in his human capacity, the bare man in him. And so I say that I understand him better, you see, than most of the people who have associated themselves with him can say.
How would you sum up what you found in him?
Well, I must say at the outset that I feel quite surprised, you see, at the interest which the outside world, Western world particularly, seems to be taking in Mr. Gandhi. I cannot understand that. You see. So far as India is concerned, he was, in my judgment, you see, an episode in the history of India, never an epoch maker.
See, this is how Babasaheb Ambedkar's diction. He says 2 words. He was just an episode. He was not an epoch maker. He didn't bring a radical change. He didn't create a new India. This is very interesting things. And he's very clear. He's speaking in 1955, and 1932. He negotiated with him. Gandhi opposed everything Babasaheb Ambedkar was doing. And despite of that, you see, in 1955, Babasaheb Ambedkar is making very clear, reflecting back on the past.
Gandhi has already vanished from the memory of the people in this country. His memory is kept up because the Congress party annually If he gives a holiday, either on his birthday or some other day connected with some event in his life, and has a celebration every year going on for 7 days in a week, naturally, people's memory is revived. But if these artificial respirations were not given, I think Gandhi would be long, long forgotten.
You don't feel then that he fundamentally changed the aspect of
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. In fact, he was all the time double dealing. He conducted 2 papers, one in English, the Harijan, you see, and before that, Young India. And in Gujarati, he conducted another paper, you see, which is called the Deen Bandhu or something like that. Now, if you read the 2 papers, you will see how Mr. Gandhi was deceiving the people. In the English paper, he posed himself as an opponent of the caste system and of untouchability, you see, and that he was a Democrat. But if you read a Gujarati magazine, you see, you will see him a more orthodox man. He has been supporting the caste system, the Varnashram Dharma, and all the orthodox dogmas, you see, which have kept India down, you see, all through ages. In fact, somebody ought to write Mr. Gandhi's biography by making a comparative study of the statements made by Mr. Gandhi in his Harijan and the statements made by Mr. Gandhi in this Gujarati paper. There are 7 volumes of it. You see? The people, the Western world only reads, you see, the English paper where Mr. Gandhi, in order to keep himself, you see, in the esteem of the Western people who believe in democracy, was advocating democratic ideals, you see. But you got to see also what he actually taught to the people in his vernacular paper. Nobody seems to have made any reference. All the biographies that have been written of him, you see, are based upon his Harijan, you see, and the Young India, but not upon the Gujarati writings of Mr. Gandhi.
Then what were his real intentions with regard to the scheduled castes in the structure?
Well, he only wanted, you see, there are 2 things about the scheduled caste. We want untouchability to be abolished, you see, but we also want, you see, that we must be given equal opportunities, you see, so that we may rise to the level of the other classes. Mere washing off of untouchability is of no consequence. We have been carrying on with untouchability for the last 2000 years. Nobody has bothered about it, you see. Nobody has bothered about it. Yes, there are some disabilities which are very harmful. For instance, people can't take water, and people can't have land, you see, to cultivate and earn their livelihood. But the other things which are far more important, you see, namely that they should have the same status, you see, in the country, and that they should have the opportunity to hold high offices, so that not only their dignity will rise, but also they will get what I call strategic positions from which they could protect their own people. Mr. Gandhi was totally opposed. Totally opposed. You see?
He was content with things like temple entry.
Temple entry, that was all the thing that he wanted to do. You see? You see? Which is nobody cares for Hindu temples now. The untouchables have become, you see, so conscious of the fact that temple going is of no consequence at all. You see? You live in the untouchable quarters, just the same, whether you went into the temple or whether you did not go into the temple. You see? People, just as for instance, people at one time would not allow the untouchables to travel by railways, you see, because of pollution, you see. But now they don't mind, because the railways won't make any separate arrangement. But because they travel together in the train, it doesn't follow, you see, that their life in the villages vis-a-vis the Hindus has in any sense changed, you see. Whenever the Hindu and the untouchable alights at a railway train, you see, they assume their old robes, you see.
So you would say Gandhi was an orthodox Hindu?
Yes, he was absolutely an orthodox Hindu, you see. He was never a reformer, you see. He has no dynamics in him. You see, all this talk about untouchability was just for the purpose of making the untouchables drawn into the Congress.
Listen carefully what Babasaheb Ambedkar is analyzing. You see, this is very important that we listen to this very carefully.
One thing, you see. And secondly, you see, he wanted that the untouchables should not oppose his movement, you see, of Swaraj. You see, I don't think beyond that he had any real motive of uplift.
And then do you think that a political independence would have come without Gandhi?
Oh, yes.
This is a great comment. You see, they talk about the freedom struggle. They say that, there would have been, Gandhi fought for the political independence. While we see here, Gandhi was opposed to the political rights of the people in the princely states. So, this is a very larger question that we need to highlight. We see how Babasaheb Ambedkar is throwing the light on the facts.
Sure about it. It might have been in slow degrees, but I personally myself think that if Swaraj had come in slow degrees in India, it would have profited the people better. You see, for each community or each group, you see, which is suffering from many of these disabilities, you see, would have been able to consolidate itself at each stage of the transfer of power from the British. You see, today, the whole thing came as a flood. You see, people were unprepared. And I always think that the Labour Party has been the most stupid party in England.
Or was it Gandhi who was showing?
See, this is the beauty of Babasaheb. He's never afraid. He's never afraid of Attlee. He's never afraid of Ramsay MacDonald. He was never afraid of Churchill. In fact, Churchill, befriended him. Churchill and Babasaheb Ambedkar spent a lot of time. One day, through a whole day, Babasaheb Ambedkar stayed at Churchill's place. He was so close to Churchill that he wrote Churchill a letter saying that some of his friends will come and stay his Kent house in the Kent. So, this is how, he built his ethos, his character, his power. I want to go through some of his aspect of the thinking, maybe in the coming sessions, as to how he developed ideas, how he talked, how he built upon the prowess of tremendous knowledge.
So impatient of the Congress Party, was he?
Personally, I do not know how suddenly Mr. Attlee agreed, you see, to give independence. That's a matter of secret which Mr. Attlee one day, I think, will disclose in his autobiography. How he came to do that, you see, because nobody ever expected. It is such a sudden change of front. Nobody ever expected.
See, the initial deadline for transfer of power was June 1948, but the British could not handle the upcoming issues of partition and so many issues. So they just abruptly left India, causing so much harm, so much deaths in the subcontinent. So Babasaheb is saying that the slow degrees are better because then you have a time to negotiate. You have a time to deal with a lot of complex problems. You cannot do it all of a sudden. If you do it all of a sudden, we know what has happened to this country.
It seems to me, from the analysis that I make about it, there are two things which I think led, you see, to the Labour Party to take this decision. One is the national army that was raised by Subhash Chandra Bose. The British had been ruling this country in the firm belief that whatever may happen, you see, in this country, and whatever the politician may do, you see, they will never be able, you see, to change the loyalty of the soldier. That was the one prop on which they were carrying on their administration. Now that thing was completely dashed to pieces, you see, when they found that even the soldier was being seduced, you see, and to form a party or a battalion to blow off the British. Then I think the British came to the conclusion that if they were to rule India, the only basis on which they could rule was the maintenance of the British Army, going back to the year 1857, when the Indian soldier rebelled against the East India Company. And they found that it would never be possible for the British to supply India with enough European troops, you see, to keep their hold on it. You see, secondly, I myself think, I have no evidence, but I think the British soldier wanted the disbandment of the army immediately. so that they wanted to go to their civil jobs. You see, you know how much indignation there was at this gradual disbandment of the army. Because those who were not disbanded felt that those who were disbanded were going to take their jobs. What's going to happen to them? You see, therefore they could not, you see, think of having enough of a British army to keep India down. You see, and besides, they had thought, I think, thirdly, that after all, what they gained from India was commerce, and not so much the civil servant salary or the army income. They were small things, and they had better be sacrificed for the sake of keeping something which was much more profitable, namely trade and commerce. Because whether India remained independent or India accepted dominion status or something lesser than that, you see, the trade and commerce would go on just the same. I think, personally myself, I have no authority for that. But that is the way the mind of the Labour Party turned.
Now, casting your mind back to the Poona Pact, the Europe,
Yeah.
Can you remember a little of what Gandhi said to you and what you said to him?
Oh, I know it very well. You see, the British government had, in the original award which McDonald had given, you see, had accepted my suggestion. I said, look here, the Hindus want, you see, that there should be a common electorate, so that there will be no separatist feeling between the scheduled caste and the Hindus. We think that if you have a common electorate, we would be submerged, you see, and the nominees of the scheduled caste who would be elected, who would be really slaves of the Hindus, not independent people. Now, I told Mr. Ramsay McDonald that this is a sort of a thing, you see, that he might do. Give us a separate electorate, you see, give us a separate electorate, and also give us a second vote in the general election, you see, so that Gandhi cannot say that we are separated in point of election. First of all, my contention was this, that for 5 years, you see, we live separately from the Hindus with no kind of intercourse or intercommunication, you see, of a social or a spiritual sort, you see. What can one day's cycle of participation, you see, in a common electorate do to remove this hardened crust, you see, separatism, which has grown for centuries? It's a foolish thing to think that if two people vote together, you see, in a common polling booth, you see, that their hearts are going to change. It's nothing of the kind. Mr. Gandhi has got this madness in him. Well, let this be satisfied, you see, by this kind of a system. Give the untouchables 2 votes, you see, and give them a population representation of ratio, so that the weightage would be in terms of votes and not in terms of representative, so that the Gandhi and others may not complain. You see, that Ramsay MacDonald accepted. You see, the award was really my suggestion. I wrote to him a letter from Naples, you see, that this is what I would like him to do, you see, so that there may be no trouble. This is exactly what he did. You see, gave us a separate electorate and also a vote in the general electorate. You see, but Gandhi didn't want that we should send our 2 representatives. You see, therefore he didn't want the separate electorate part of the award, and went on fast. You see, went on fast. Then they all came to me. They said, well, the British government said, if he agrees, you see, to abandon the award, then we have no objection. You see, but we can't abandon the award ourselves. We have given the award. We have taken all things into consideration, and we think this is the basis. You have to read Ramsay MacDonald's letter. It's a very clear statement that we haven't done anything to aggravate the separation. You see, in fact, we are trying to bridge it up by bringing the 2 sections together in a common electoral roll. But Gandhi's object was that we should not get, you see, free, independent representation. Therefore, in the first place, he said, no representation ought to be given to us. That's how his stand in the Round Table Conference. You see, he said, I recognize only three communities. You see, namely Hindus, you see, Muslims, and Sikh. These are the only three communities that will have a political recognition, you see, in the constitution. You see. But the Christians or the Anglo-Indians or the scheduled caste will have no place in the constitution. They must merge themselves in the general community. That was the stand that he had taken. Well, all his friends, I know, you see, were asking him, how foolish was his attitude. You see, his own friends had quarreled with him on this subject. That if you are prepared to give special representation to the Sikhs and special representation to the Muslims, who are 1,000 times superior in strength, you see, and political and economic stamina, how can you deny, you see, to the scheduled caste or to the Christian? You see? He always used to say, oh, you don't understand our problem. You see, that's all he was saying. Alexander, even, who was a great friend of his, had a serious quarrel with him, as he told me. Then that French woman who was his disciple, I forget her name now, you see, she also had a great quarrel with him. That we don't understand this attitude. Either you say, we won't give anything to anybody. Let there be just a common role. You see, then we can understand that. That's a democratic thing. You see, but to go on saying that you will give it to the Muslims, you see, and you give it to the Sikhs, you see, but not to the scheduled caste, seems absurd. You see, he could give no answer. He could give no answer. So we suggested this method. But he also didn't, in the beginning, when he wrote Ramajima, he said, no, the scheduled caste should have nothing. No representation. You see. Then his own friend said to him, this was asking for too much. You see, nobody would support you in this matter. Then Malviya and others came to me and said, well, could you not help us to solve this problem? You see, I said, well, I don't want to solve this problem by sacrificing what we have been able to get from the British Premier.
So you went to Poona.
I said I suggested an alternative formula. And that formula was that I am not prepared to give up the separate electorate, but I'm prepared, you see, to modify the thing. You see, in this way, namely, that the candidates who would stand in the final election on behalf of the scheduled caste should be first elected by the scheduled caste themselves. Sort of a primary election, you see, and that they should elect 4 people, you see, 4. And the 4 then should stand in the general electorate, you see, and let the best one come, you see, so that we get some assurance that you don't put up, you see, your own nominees, you see, but that we do get people who will express our voice in the parliament. That Mr. Gandhi had to accept, so he accepted that. You see, of course, we had the benefit of it only in one election in 1937. You see, there you will see that the federation swept the poll. Gandhi was not able to get a single candidate of his party elected.
Well, did he bargain very hard at the end of his fast?
Oh, of course. He bargained and bargained. I said nothing doing. You see, I'm prepared to save your life. You see, provided you do not make hard terms. You see, but I'm not going to save your life at the cost of the life of my people. You see, this is too much. How much I have labored. You see, in all this, I know very well, and I'm not going to sacrifice your whim. I sacrifice our people's interest just for the sake of satisfying you. Yours is a whim. You see, how can one day's common election alter the situation? Simply cannot alter the situation. Yes.
So what did he say to that?
He couldn't say anything. He couldn't say anything. He was very much afraid, you see, that the scheduled caste would be a sort of as independent a body as the Sikhs and the Muslims were. And that the Hindus would be left alone to fight a battle against the combination of these 3 sections. That was what was at the back of his mind. And he didn't want the Hindus to be left without any allies.
So really, he worked entirely as a politician.
As a politician, he was never a Mahatma, and I refuse to call him Mahatma. You see, I've never in my life called him Mahatma. He doesn't deserve that title, not even from the point of view of his morality. You see?
So that is it. We have heard a lot, and I think we can take another 5 minutes to wrap up. If there is any comment, anything from your side, we can take. We can wrap up in another 5 minutes. I think I know that this was a long session, but as you can see that there is a lot to learn, there is a lot to understand, there is a lot for our mind here, food for thought. So if anybody has anything to say, we will spend another 5 minutes before we close the session today.
Sir, you have mentioned in one slide some clause of Canadian Constitution,
Yes.
clause 92 or 93. What was that?
That was, the Canadian Constitution was safeguarding the natives of the Canada. And Canada was well ahead in their constitution to safeguard the rights and strengthen the power of the native Canadians. So I think we have to do that. Somebody has to look into that. But you see, this shows what Babasaheb Ambedkar wanted for his people. He wanted foolproof rights. Okay, embedded in the constitution. He doesn't want people's change in the conscience, as Gandhi was arguing. So I think this range of rights and their safeguards, particularly this section 93 from the Canadian Constitution. I think somebody has to go from the group in that study that document and share with us next time. Okay, maybe you can do that, Mahendraji.
Okay, thank you.
Doctor, how you visualize the Poona Pact in terms of negotiations and the things that we are learning over there?
See, I think Babasaheb Ambedkar was never satisfied with the Poona Pact because he wanted separate electorate and a double vote. And the situation was such that, he was pressurized, though the British said that we will agree with only Babasaheb Ambedkar, whatever he says. If he's ready to amend, we are ready to amend. But there was such a pressure by this Congress on the untouchables, and our people, Babasaheb Ambedkar thought, are scattered and very less in number in the villages, and this tyranny of the Hindu groups might lead to gross violence. So that is one of the reasons he has to negotiate. He negotiated hard. He has to give up the main rights and get more seats and get reservation in the services, get educational grants and so on and so forth. But in all, he was not satisfied totally. And I think had we stick to what McDonald has given, what Babasaheb Ambedkar has asked for separate electorate and a double vote, the condition of the scheduled caste would have been very different. I reckon that under the leadership of Babasaheb Ambedkar, the own voice, independent voice in the parliament, we could have got our separate budget, everything, separate for the community, though not disintegrated from the national life. I think we would have done much better than what we got in Poona Pact. Right?
Yeah, thank you.
So you see, the parting comments would be like this, that there is a lot, in the first session, second session, in the third session, as Babasaheb Ambedkar said, that the public speaking is a skill that has to be acquired by the great efforts. So the aim of this session is to, bring back the conceptual framework and also the application, the way Babasaheb Ambedkar applied those skills in the real life. And I can recognize that these are some hard sessions, very difficult ones. But if you get through them with the pen and paper, read them, study them, they can bring, to us a lot of skills that we want in the world. How to argue in the courts, how to argue in the debates, in the public debates, how to put our points across, how to build our argumentation. And I think there is a lot and lot which we can learn from this session. So you see, I will say that you sweat over the material, even if you have gone through one of, the classes in the live sessions, I would request you to go through them again and again. It's a lifelong journey, so much to learn. It will improve our language. It will improve our skills to talk. It will add to our knowledge about the movements. These are very precious sessions as far as I can see, and, we can learn a lot. So with these parting words, I think if there is nothing on your mind, anybody's mind, urgent, we will end here. Okay. So let's meet in the next fourth session, which will be about how to mobilize the masses, how Babasaheb Ambedkar mobilized the masses for the Satyagraha, because without the public support, he couldn't have done much the way he has done. So, in the fourth session, I'm going to show you how to speak with the masses, how to mobilize the masses, and that will be another very interesting session. So let's meet up next time. Till then, goodbye.